Hey everybody, welcome in to the latest video. November has officially begun. It is the first today, which means we are on the countdown to the Spectrum, and this is going to be a special series where I'm going to try and get 22 videos out in 22 days. It's going to be an ask, considering like today when I'm recording this video 2 days ahead of November, I have had my COVID jab, and last year that absolutely wrecked me, so who knows where we're going to be with these videos. I'm really going to try my hardest. I'm actually trying to get a couple in the bank before November starts, just so that I can be prepared, but I'm making you promises that I'm going to try. That's as much as I can make. Anyway, let's crack on. You can see what's on the screen. The first game on this list that we are going to talk about from the Spectrum is Manic Miner. I have picked 22 from the 48 games to highlight as a special. We are going to count down every single day leading up to when the Spectrum is released. So there we have it. That's my plan. So I think the reason why was because the games that are on the Spectrum are not really getting talked about, because obviously we're doing adds to the Spectrum lists rather than what's actually on there. So it might be nice to focus on some of the games we are going to get included. So Manic Miner, what is there to say about this? Released in 1983 by Bug Software, originally created by, of course, the legendary Matthew Smith. It released for £5.95 and it's got all kinds of accolades. I mean, just going through some of them on this website here. Third place in the CMVG 1983 Golden Joystick Awards, Game of the Year 1983, ranked number 3 in 1984 Sinclair User Top 50 Spectrum Software Classics, and winner of the CMVG 1983 Golden Joystick Awards for Best Arcade Style Game. CMVG Reviewer's Choice at CMVG issue number 23. We got a few little comments here on this website as well. Famously moved to Software Projects label after Matthew Smith left Bug through a legal loophole. Probably the most famous specky game of all time, and who would disagree with that? Appeared in Computer and Video Games Greatest 100 Games of All Time at position 100, well, I don't agree with that, but in January 2000. An early version of the game featured 16 caverns, was officially announced at the Earl's Court Computer Fair in June 1983 by Bug Software. Later, Matthew Smith added another 4 caverns for the official Bug Software release. And the Software Projects version has modified graphics of enemies at the Warehouse and Amoebotron's Revenge caverns. This is a game, once again, it will not shock you to hear a statement like this from myself. Played more on the Commodore 64 originally. I played it more on that because we got that on the Commodore 64 first. I had my 64 from 1983 onwards, and we got Manic Miner when we first got the Commodore 64. As soon as I got my ZX Spectrum, however, I bought a copy of this for that too, and played it way more eventually on the ZX Spectrum. It's just it took me a couple of years to get one of those, so you know that's why there was the delay. Like I said, if you've heard the story I've told before on this channel, my dad and mum and dad were divorced. My dad bought us a Commodore 64, but that meant it was at my dad's house. We only saw him like a couple of times a month, so when we got our ZX Spectrum we had that access to that on a daily basis. So anything I did end up playing on the Spectrum, I used to play a lot more, obviously, because I could play it every single day. Manic Miner was one of those games. It was a wake up early in the morning, like me and my brother before school. We would load up the ZX Spectrum, sit there and have our breakfast before we were getting ready for school. Always remember, Marmite on toast, cup of tea. It was amazing. And later on we played Jet Set Willy when that came out as well, in the same sort of circumstances. We loved a little bit of Spectrum before school. We probably weren't supposed to do it, but mum didn't mind too much. She was busy getting ready for work, so you know, as long as we got out of the house on time and onto the school bus, nobody really cared. So you know, and we always did. Anyway, as ever, what we're going to do is, you've been seeing some gameplay in the background, that's why I don't mind waffling. I'm probably going to do about 10 minutes on each game if possible. I'm going to show you the review. The reason I've waffled a little bit longer on this one is because this is such an early Spectrum game. It was very hard to find a review for this, or a decent review. So I've got one here, and this is from Personal Computer News. So as you can see, not really like, one of the top notches. The website I get all my reviews from, which I think they get them from the Internet Archive. They've got links on the page. It had 4 for Crash, but 2 of them were just guides, and then the other ones were from 1989 and 2018. So it just didn't seem like it was worth it. They had a few early reviews from other websites, but they weren't very good either. So this was the best one I could find. So we'll take a little look at it here. Manic Miner, System 48K, $5.95, Bug Outlets, High Street Dealers. There you go. Let's read the review. If you've ever had the uncontrollable urge to jump over a penguin while it's humming Hall of the Mountain King, then this is definitely the game for you. That's a good start to the review. The idea is to maneuver Miner Willy through the various caverns of a long-forgotten mine shaft near Surbiton, collecting all the keys in each cave before being able to move on to the next, and eventually up to the surface. And and untold riches. It's a game for one player with keyboard control or joystick. The game opens with simply the best title screen I've ever seen, the waving palm trees of sultry Surbiton behind a piano keyboard whose keys are moving up and down to the tune more or less of the Skater's Waltz. Pressing enter starts the game, but if you don't, you're given a chance to see the assorted caverns you'll be travelling through. If you're anything like me, this is the only way you'll ever get to see them. Yeah, same here. I've actually never finished Manic Miner, so I'm looking forward to doing it with rewinds and untold saves, because Eugene's Lair, you'll see it in the video, because when I played it, it's where I always get stuck. I've completed it before, but it's one of those levels that just used to get me every time. So I think my plan with Manic Miner is I'm going to try and get as far as I can on 3 lives and constantly keep saving it. So I've got to save far along on 3 lives, so I don't have to keep going back to the beginning every time, and we're going to see how far I can actually get with that. But anyway, that's for another day. Let's carry on with the review. The first in the proper game is Central Cavern, and while everyone is different, the general idea is that Willie goes walkabout, jumping over obstacles and slowly climbing up the platforms that lead to the top of the screen, grabbing the keys he needs as he goes. When the last key is taken, the portal leading to the next cave will start flashing, and Willie must make his way back to that. The game requires a lot of thought, practice, timing to get through each screen, especially as they're all being patrolled by robots, ducks and a dozen other creatures, which is where the ability to leap over a penguin comes in handy. Complications also arise with the platforms, some of which crumble under you as you pass, meaning that you only get one chance to jump from them to the next level. Others are conveyor belts, and once on those you can't change direction, so you have to know well in advance exactly where you're going to jump next. Coming down is even more hazardous than going up. The graphics and sound are both superb, and if the consistent playing of Hall of the Mountain King starts to annoy you, the writer has thoughtfully provided an on-off switch in the program. Manic Miner is original and amusing as well as hard to master, and I haven't enjoyed a game so much since I first encountered Donkey Kong. And look at that, 5 out of 5 for lasting appeal, 5 out of 5 for playability, 5 out of 5 for use of machine, 5 out of 5 for overall value. And that was reviewed in August 1983. Yes, I think this guy sums it up perfectly. We all probably felt that way when we first played Manic Miner. Sometimes it's the simple games, isn't it? You know, there isn't really a lot to Manic Miner when you think about it. There is a lot in terms of like the variation of stuff, and I think that's where Jet Set Willie came in, obviously, because he could go a bit more loopy in Jet Set Willie, and he clearly did. But Manic Miner's like a straight up sort of classic platform game, isn't it? And it's a joy to play. I absolutely love it. As soon as I start hearing the music again in Manic Miner, that's it for me. The memories just come flooding back. I'm sure it's the same for so many of you. This is such a beloved game, and I just can't believe there was a world where they wouldn't have included this on the Spectrum. They would have gone all out for this one, I'm sure. It is an absolute classic. This was the only way to start the countdown as far as I'm concerned. Definitely the most legendary game, I think, on the Spectrum. Again, you know, it's subjective. Of course it is. Everyone's going to have that game that they can remember, they can relate to when they used to play it and everything. For me, it will always be Manic Miner. That will be the one. I mean, there's a few on here, obviously, that I can relate to. I've got stories for pretty much every single game I've chosen on here. There's a few that I've chosen in the 22 that I haven't actually played, so we'll get to them as we get to them. But a lot of the big games on here I have stories for. I hope you're not bored of my stories, and I like to hear them in the comments as well, your stories. I think that's the best thing about retro gaming, is sometimes the memories that are attached to them. They're very precious, you know. And I lost my mum a few years ago, and my mum bought me my Spectrum. So for me, there's a lot of memory attached to it, and a lot of like happy memories. I'm tearing up a little bit here because, you know, it's like, yeah, my Spectrum will forever be linked to my mother, and, you know, with my mum's no longer here anymore, it makes it even more precious to me, you know. And maybe there's a few of you who have similar memories like that, and Manic Miner is that game for me that reminds me of the very early days of getting my Spectrum, you know, when it was all brand new, and there were so many possibilities. You know, we were moving into a new age, and it was just like, it was so exciting, and this is the one that started all the journey for me, so that's why it holds a special place in my heart and always will. Anyway guys, that's it for this first video. I said they're not going to be long videos. We're not going to like spend 20 minutes on them. I don't have time, quite frankly. If I'm going to do 22 in 22 days, I have to keep them fairly short. But it's nice to sometimes have a shorter video on here, you know, without me waffling on for 40-50 minutes. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've enjoyed the little trip down memory lane. Please, every video I put up in this series, share your memories on the comments, because I would really be happy to hear them. You know, it really is nice. It's what I love about the retro gaming community. We've all got a story to tell, and I'm sure there's plenty of you that have stories to tell about the origins of this game and in your life, because Manic Miner's a classic, isn't it? It really is. So stay tuned. Every day will be a new game. Obviously, I'm not going to reveal what it is. It will just pop up the next day, and hopefully every game will be for you. If not, you know, you'll get another video the next day, or at least that's the intent. tension. Okay, so again, I'm going to stress, I'm promising this, but we're going to see if I can actually deliver it. I'm about 2 hours away from my COVID jab now, so we'll find out how much of an effect that has on me. But hopefully if I can get 3 or 4 of these videos in the bank, at least I won't have to make a new one for about 5 days after the COVID jab, which means I've got a chance, touch wood. Anyway, you don't want to hear about my problems. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. See you soon for number 2 on the countdown to the spectrum. Bye for now.